to Tim Hudak's PC caucus and certainly to our campaign team. Look, I'll have some brief remarks, and then I know we all got up early this morning to listen to the Deputy Campaign Manager coming down from Queen's Park today, an old friend of mine. But first, I just wanted to say thank you to speak today in front of a live audience. As many of you know, I speak to Liberals on a daily basis in the legislature, and that's always been a bit of a challenge because they're not really awake and they're not really in touch with what's going on across Ontario, and that's what we're hearing. Earlier today, you may have noticed that we had to escort a member of the Premier's staff out of the AGM. That's what's happening. I want everyone here to be vigilant. If you're coming from this riding or any other riding, they are sending the Liberals people from Queen's Park to follow not only myself and our leader Tim Hudak, but also our candidates. It's a new way of life in Ontario. Dalton McGuinty would rather spend money spying on me and you than actually getting the job done at Queen's Park. I think that speaks to the issues that we're confronted with on a daily basis. In any event, I just want to say thanks very much to my outgoing board of directors, many of whom are returning, and I also wanted to point out the work of my staff, Kayla, Helen, and Ashley. The last month, they have hosted events for Tim Hudak in Ottawa, an event for Ottawa West Nepean, and an event for Ottawa Orleans, and they're up and at it again early this morning. That means they're working during the day on behalf of the people of Nepean Carleton, and almost every weekend and evening they are putting on events for either the Nepean Carleton Riding Association or for Tim Hudak and the Ontario PC Party, and I really appreciate what they've done. So please give my loyal team a great round of applause. Now, it's been quite a week. I've been to London, Brampton, Oakville, and almost every other spot in between. Tim Hudak has had the Ontario PC caucus very busy. We've been asked to be engaged and working with our non-member held ridings to spread the message that Ontario families need tax relief and they need to be listened to. And it's been quite an event. In London, I was in a riding where right now the Speaker of the Legislature has held that seat for 15 years. He's not re-offering. And right now we have 6 candidates lining up in that Liberal stronghold. I went off to Oakville, where that seat has been 2 terms now under the Liberal government. Over 800 progressive Conservatives went to a contested nomination there, and I'm pleased to say we've got a star candidate, a former banker on Bay Street named Larry Scott, who's going to knock off Kevin Flynn in that seat. And then I went to Brampton, where I got to spend some time with Pam Hundle and Sanjeev Mangi, who are 2 candidates who are going to bring back Brampton Bill Davis's seats to the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party. Ladies and gentlemen, every time I hit and I go to Brampton, I'm looking at between 200 and 400 people who are out there in support of Tim Hudak and the Ontario PC caucus. And do you want to know why? They do not feel that this government, this Liberal government, is listening anymore. Time and time we hear that. And that's why we've been consulting with Ontarians recently in Nepean Carleton. I launched Have Your Say in Nepean Carleton. I'm pleased to say, as Richard Steele asked me earlier today, what's been my response. Each and every day at Queen's Park, since I launched that, it was in the mail, we've been receiving about 2,000 pieces of mail a day from people who have told us that Dalton McGuinty isn't listening anymore, and they know Tim Hudak will. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is positive because it's going to play into not only our response to the 2011 budget, which Dalton McGuinty is going to bring in, which, by the way, will probably have a $19 million deficit, but it will also play into our plan for Ontario, because Ontario needs to lead again, and with Tim Hudak's leadership, I believe we can. The last year has been very busy locally for our Nepean Carleton Riding Association. We kicked off the 2011 campaign with Tim Hudak here at the Nepean Sportsplex with close to 400 people, and that began our long march to victory. We've also had a great rally for Tim Hudak in your riding, Jason, in Dalton McGuinty's riding. We decided to take Tim Hudak right into the heart of the McGuinty stronghold. We've had wonderful events like our golf tournament and our women's tea. And of course, I think the event that we've hosted the most wasn't really an event at all. It was the collaboration by many of the men and women of this riding association into a cookbook called I'd Rather Be Baking Cookies. And that's become one of our greatest fundraisers. So it's been great. Also locally, I've been contributing to a lot of events, as Pierre had mentioned, and we worked together on the Stratford-Armstrong Bridge to see that built. Myself and Councillor Jan Harder put on a fundraiser, Bar Haven for Haiti. I'm pleased to see her daughter is here today, and it's really nice to see you. She's telling me she's expecting a child, and my husband said, "Are you having a girl or a boy?" And they said, "A conservative." So it's really good for them to be here today. And there's other local projects we've been working on. In the news, you may have seen that I've been fighting to keep an ER open in Winchester. And the Citizen is portraying one side of the story, and if you read the Ottawa Sun or any of the local community papers, you'll get the other side. What's happened there is the Local Health Integration Network, the Champlain Lynn, has put out a survey and public consultation to force my residents, like Kim Sheldrick, to have to cherry pick among services that our hospital in Winchester would be able to continue to offer, and what should be cut. Among those was a closure of the ER. The chair and the vice chair of that hospital board came out publicly and said that that closure of the ER in the evenings was going to be an option. It was on the public survey and through the public consultations. It was widely reported in the press in our community. So myself and Christine Elliott had a press conference. Only after, I might add, I wrote to the minister, received no response, and I requested a meeting with every single one of the executives of that hospital, and they declined. Ladies and gentlemen, the problem that we have there in Winchester is we now have a CEO of the Champlain Lynn making a whimsical decision that he is going to keep the ER open, which is beneficial to our constituents. But if it's so easy to say that a hospital is going to remain open in the evenings, in their ER, it's as easy if his whim changes the next day. We can't continue to build healthcare in this province that way. And yesterday I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive home from Toronto to meet with the hospital CEO. By the time I was in Belleville, that meeting was canceled and I was told I was only allowed to meet with the Champlain Lynn CEO. That is not good enough. That person is either refusing to meet with their locally elected representative at Queen's Park, who is there to defend their constituents, or they are being muzzled by the Lynn. And I'm going to tell you something. That is why Tim Hudak and the Ontario PC Caucus think it's time to get rid of those unelected bureaucrats down at Queen's Park, but also who are right here locally, who are more focused on communications than getting the job done in healthcare, and we are resolved to ensuring that that happens. The Champlain Lynn picked a fight with the wrong person. And I can tell you that that is why we have a resolve. In addition to that, as I said, this HaveYourSayOntario.ca program is feeding into our platform. So other initiatives that Tim Hudak has been very clear about is our energy policy. He has said that this is going to be about economic policy, not about social programs and the subsidies that you've seen with Dalton McGuinty. It's time that Ontario families had an ability to pay clause instead of Dalton McGuinty's Samsung secret agreements. Because it's us, the ladies and gentlemen of this community, who are footing the bill for Dalton McGuinty's expensive energy experiments, and that's got to stop, and it will when Tim Hudak is Premier. And ladies and gentlemen, we've also been very clear that our party will offer tax relief. I've been asked what kind. Well, it's up to you. Have your say. We have options on the table, and Tim Hudak has been very clear there will be options for all of us to choose. And in the months and days leading up to the next campaign, our plan will be very clear. But it's have your say. There's going to be an opportunity for you to tell us, is it a reduction in the rate? Is it abolishing it on certain services of the HST that you want? But we want to know. And then we will come out with our plan for Ontario that will be costed, effective, and affordable for the people of this province. And ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you that Tim Hudak is listening to the people that I represent and the people across this province. And just before I do announce my old friend Chad Rogers, I want to encourage all of you today to consider joining us at the end of April in Niagara Falls. And I know Chad will talk a little bit more about that. But this will be a convention like no other. It will be a convention where we put our public face on to the rest of Ontario so that they can see who our leader really is. It will culminate with some really exciting things that are happening in the Niagara region, which I believe will spread right across the rest of Ontario. But it's an opportunity for all of you to participate. And Chad will tell you what we're doing. It's new, it's exciting, it's innovating, and it's going to be affordable. And let me tell you something. We think that we can get a great group from Ottawa there so that we can support our leader and we can also support the party. But as we do that, I just wanted to now introduce a young man named Chad Rogers. Some of you who worked on Parliament Hill may know him. That's how my husband and Joe and I know him. Chad, myself, and Joe all worked together on Parliament Hill for Joe Clark. So we've learned a few things along the way, so don't be scared. Okay, I had to sort of mention that. We worked together for... okay? Don't tell Joe I said that, okay? Don't tell Marge I said that either. I'm in real trouble. We worked